Hello, friends. Before we dive into the story, do me a favor. If anything I talk about next grabs your attention, subscribe to the channel and write PSM in the comments. I truly value your opinion because this thing is not just a piece of metal. It's an entire philosophy encased in steel, a paradox in the palm of your hand. And this story changed how entire nations thought about defense and offense. I promise you're in for a real journey to an era where engineering genius collided with harsh reality. Don't click away, it's worth it. A request from the abyss. When form dictates content. Imagine the 70s. Not the 70s from wistful songs. The Soviet 70s. The Cold War is not a metaphor, but a daily reality. The world hangs by a thread. And in this reality, there are people whose job is invisibility. KGB officers, diplomats, high-ranking general staff officers. Their weapon is not for parades. It is the last line of defense, a secret argument in the very heart of an enemy capital or on a dark Moscow street. And so, a task comes to the designers. Not just make a new pistol. No, the task sounds like a challenge to common sense. They need a tool that can be carried for years, every day, under a perfectly tailored suit from the best ateliers. And this tool must not betray itself. Not a gram. Not while walking. Not when bending down to tie a shoelace. It must become part of the silhouette, part of the person. And in a critical moment, it must fire instantly and unfailingly. Guaranteed. Do you understand the scale? It's madness. Weapons always dictated their own rules. A powerful cartridge means a massive barrel and a wide grip. Reliability means room for parts, a safety margin. But here the requirements didn't come from engineers. They came from an agency for which secrecy was above all else. Legend has it that a high-ranking KGB official placed a pack of Cosmos cigarettes in the breast pocket of his jacket and said, "This thickness. Your pistol must be thinner." The figure of 17 millimeters became not a technical parameter, but almost a religious dogma. Essentially, the weapon was being designed not for ballistics but for a tailor. And then they enter the stage. Designers Kulikov, Loznev, Cimarron. Today, only specialists know their names, but what they did is kung fu in the world of firearms. They accepted the challenge. And the PSM was born, the Pistolet Samizariadny Malagabaritny, self-loading, small-sized pistol. When people first saw it, many didn't believe it was serious. 18 millimeters at its thickest point. It really was thinner than a pack of those same Cosmos. Smooth as a river stone without a single protruding hook or lever. It lay in the hand not like a weapon, but like a strange technological artifact from the future. It seemed like perfection, the devil in the details or the price paid for elegance. But, friends, nothing in the world is perfect. You have to pay for every advantage. And the price for this fantastically flat shape turned out to be monstrously paradoxical. To fit all the mechanisms into this stack of paper, a completely new path had to be found, and that path led to the caliber. A standard pistol cartridge is a round, chubby thing. You can't cram it into a flat magazine. Something revolutionary was needed, and it was found. Alexander Bochkin, a genius of ammunition, created the 5.45 by 18 millimeter cartridge. 5.45 millimeters. For comparison, the classic Soviet Makarov PM is 9 millimeters. This wasn't just a small cartridge. It was a needle-like cartridge. The bullet was pointed like an awl with a steel core. And here the first miracle happened. This pinprick at a distance of up to 25 meters pierced what many more substantial pistols could not. Early body armor, thick leather jackets, sheets of car metal. The PSM was created as a weapon against a protected target. Imagine an operative meeting with an agent. The agent might be wearing body armor under his clothes. A regular pistol would only stun him, but the PSM would punch right through. It was an answer to a new challenge of the time. A triumph, you'd think? No. Here is the main paradox. Penetration capability, phenomenal, but stopping power close to zero. The bullet, with the diameter of a pencil lead, would go in and out, leaving a neat, almost surgical channel. It could nick the heart or aorta, and the opponent would die a few minutes later from internal bleeding. But those few minutes he could keep shooting, running, resisting. Later, chilling entries appeared in operational reports. Target was hit with 3 bullets in the chest, but continued moving for 100 meters before falling. It turned out the PSM was the perfect weapon for a cold-blooded, almost intellectual kill. A point-blank shot to the temple, to the eye. But in a hot firefight where you need to quickly incapacitate an enemy with shock and pain, it lost even to the old Nagant revolver. Its lethal force was delayed, like the effect of poison. The mechanics of genius and the nervous character. What about the shooting itself? This is where I always get surprised. It's logical to think, a light pistol, a weak cartridge, the recoil should be comfortable, almost toy-like. I hasten to disappoint you, or perhaps, on the contrary, to intrigue you. The PSM's recoil was sharp, snappy, nervous. Let me explain why. The pistol is very light, but the bullet, thanks to a powerful powder charge, accelerates to a huge velocity. According to the laws of physics, a pinpoint impact on a small mass results in strong recoil. The slide, also light, runs like crazy. As a result, after the shot, the barrel is jerked sharply upward and slightly to the right. The first shot is accurate, but you had to learn to manage this hop for the second and third shots. This was not a weapon for a novice. It demanded respect and skill. It was alive. But otherwise, the mechanics are a masterpiece. Look at the safety. It's not some tiny button you can't find in a panic. It's a large lever on the frame. One downward movement with the thumb, and the pistol is off safe and the hammer is cocked. Ready for action. Automatic slide stop? Yes. And a brilliant detail. As soon as you remove the magazine, the slide automatically closes. Why? Imagine the operation has gone wrong, you need to quickly get rid of the weapon. You throw the pistol away, but there's still a lethal round in the chamber. The enemy picks it up and fires. But with the PSM, pull out the magazine and it's already safe. Thought through to the smallest detail. Historical context. Why then and why like that? Let's step away from the metal and look at the era. The 70s, a time of détente, but also a time of confrontation between intelligence services on an unprecedented scale. The Afghan war hadn't started yet, but undeclared conflicts were boiling all over the world. The USSR was actively engaged in foreign intelligence, supporting movements in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. For an agent under diplomatic cover in London or Washington, a pistol was not a means of combat, but a tool of extreme necessity. This presence must not be revealed under any pretext. Not at airport control, it was smuggled in diplomatic pouches. Not during a car search, it was hidden in secret compartments built into the body of a Chaika limousine. The PSM was a product of precisely this era of quiet war, a war in suits and ties. Economically, it was also a product of its time. The arms race was in full swing, colossal funds were allocated for defense. But the USSR, for all its might, was not a rich country in the consumer sense. And here another brilliant feature of the Soviet engineering school manifested itself. To create something unique not by increasing, but by reducing. Not by drowning a problem in tons of metal and budget funds, but by solving it elegantly, almost gracefully. The PSM was expensive to produce due to complex machining and tight tolerances, but it solved a specific task for a narrow elite. It was a Ferrari in the world of pistols, a piece, almost a bespoke product. Fate and legacy. Why didn't it become mass market? And now we come to the most interesting part. The pistol was a success. It was adopted. People were proud of it. But what next? A natural thought for the military. Why not issue such a compact and penetrating pistol to all officers? From generals to lieutenants in the trenches, testing began. And here all the flip sides of the coin emerged. The weapon, perfect for carrying in the breast pocket of a dress uniform in an office, turned out to be completely unsuitable for field conditions. Its thin, almost jewelry-like construction feared sand, dirt, water. Try crawling with it on your belly and then taking a shot. There's a good chance it will misfire. Its flat grip was uncomfortable for a gloved hand. And most importantly, its pin-like bullet in real combat, where shock effect is more important than precision, was greatly inferior to even the PM. The military politely but firmly refused. And this refusal contains the entire fate of the PSM. It remained an elite tool for the chosen few. For those whose war was fought not in trenches, but in the corridors of power, at secret meetings, in the shadows. It became a symbol of status, a sign of belonging to the caste of the untouchables from the committee or the general staff. And with the collapse of the USSR, its paradoxical nature hit the free market. It became a coveted trophy for collectors in the West, an exotic item from behind the Iron Curtain, and a curiosity for ordinary shooters. Shooting it is expensive, ammunition is rare, inconvenient, the recoil is specific, and for practical self-defense purposes, almost pointless. Unless you're afraid of being attacked by someone in body armor. But the genius of the design did not disappear. In the 90s, in the era of wild capitalism and new demand for civilian weapons, a whole family was created based on the PSM. Sport pistols, gas skiff models, less lethal versions. This platform turned out to be surprisingly tenacious. The designers Kulikov, Loznev, and Cimarron gave the world not just a pistol, but an architectural idea that could be developed. The lessons of the PSM. A weapon as a mirror of an era. So what is the PSM in the end? It is a brilliant answer to a unique request that will never be repeated. It is a monument to an era when secrecy was valued above firepower. It is proof that any, even the most insane task, if set clearly, can be solved brilliantly. But it is also an eternal reminder of compromise. In the world of engineering, as in life, you can't have it all at once. You can be invisible and lethal at close range, but helpless in open combat. You can be a technological masterpiece, but completely impractical for the masses. The PSM is philosophy in metal, a weapon that says, I was created for one single, very specific purpose, and within that purpose, I am perfect. Outside of it, I am useless. When I hold it in my hands, and I've had the chance, I feel the cold of the steel, but also the coldness of the calculation put into it. This is not the warm, living weapon of a people's war. It is the sterile, emotionless tool of a state machine. Beautiful, dangerous, and infinitely lonely in its perfection. That's the story, friends. A story about how a thin strip of metal became a legend. A legend not for everyone, but for the chosen few. If the story hooked you, if you feel history's pages coming to life when talking about such paradoxes, let me know. Write in the comments what you think. Was the PSM a brilliant find or a dead-end branch? And, of course, subscribe to the channel. There are many more stories ahead, about other forgotten masterpieces, about revolutions that lost, and failures that changed the world. Stay tuned. This is only the beginning.